I'm Jay Kingley, co-founder and CEO of Maven, your host of Fractionals Unplugged. I'm joined today by Rebecca Kushner. Rebecca is a fractional CFO who works with health and wellness practitioners who are launching or expanding their own private practices. Now that includes doctors, therapists, dietitians, acupuncturists, and coaches, whether they're just starting to see clients or building out a team. Rebecca is based in Rye Brook, New York. Welcome, Rebecca.
Thank you so much for having me, Jay. I'm excited to chat further with you.
Are you feeling undervalued and stuck in the frustrating cycle of an inconsistent pipeline and income, despite consistently delivering exceptional results for your clients? Maven's proven 97% done-for-you client acquisition system transforms your expertise into a steady income of $300,000 to $500,000 a year, providing lasting financial security and establishing you as the go-to resource for your clients' toughest challenges. Join Jay Kingley, CEO of Maven, and his guests as they share actionable insights on today's episode of the Fractionals Unplugged podcast.
Rebecca, when you first meet a potential prospect, it is important for you to give them some context on you so they know how to tell you about their issues and challenges. I'm going to give you a maximum of 60 seconds to give just enough context so that our audience understands where you are coming from. Go!
So I believe most practitioners are highly trained in their scope of practice, and while they're encouraged to open a private practice, their curriculum rarely includes any business or financial education. So even as they begin seeing clients and revenue starts to grow, many still don't feel confident about how much they can afford to pay themselves, outsource or hire, or reinvest in the business, from marketing to professional education to office space. And these questions don't go away, they only evolve. So whether a practitioner is just starting out and launching their private practice, or they're building a team, or they have a team of 15 to 20 practitioners, they're all often still unsure if their pricing or payment structures are sustainable, what their client volume and capacity should look like, including their ramp, and how much they're spending on overhead. So ultimately what their actual profit and cash flow is. And I believe optimizing for profitable growth means getting clear on those numbers so they can make smart, confident decisions at every stage of their business.
So let's get into a little bit of detail. What are some of the key financial challenges that health and wellness practitioners have?
I break it down into 3 pillars. So revenue equals price times volume. So first is pricing. Many practitioners are unsure if their rates or payment structures are actually profitable or aligned with the value they provide. And then there's the volume piece, which is their client volume or capacity. They don't know how many clients they can or should take on to meet their goals without burning out. So I meet practitioners who are just starting out and don't know how many clients they can take on, to the other side of that equation where they're back to back with clients or patients and they're on the cusp of burnout. And then the third pillar is their overhead or expenses. So revenue equals price times volume, and profit equals revenue minus expenses. Many practitioners are uncertain about what they can afford. They lack clarity on how much or how often they can pay themselves, when to hire, who to hire or outsource, and where to reinvest in their business for growth. Most of the time, that's in marketing or branding.
Now, if you take those 3 pillars and synthesize them together and boil it down to what I like to call the MIUVP, and that's short for the most important, urgent, and valuable problem that these healthcare providers are struggling to resolve. What does that look like?
They don't know their numbers. So ultimately, they're focused on the surface level symptoms of how to grow their practice. But if they don't know their numbers, they don't know the best next decision to make.
What's that old saying? You can't manage what you don't measure. And therefore, you've got to start with measuring and understanding your numbers. But I think it's just not any set of numbers. I think one of the critical things is you have to understand what are those KPIs, the key performance indicators. What are the right metrics to focus on? And do not get distracted by information overload that is going to take you away from what you need to effectively run the business. These healthcare practitioners, they have certain business goals. Obviously, they have patient goals, but let's talk about their business goals. And there are certain outcomes that they want, but they're not getting to them because they have not eliminated this MIUVP or this critical problem. So talk to us about the outcomes that they want, but they can't get to.
It tends to come down to their confidence, and I break that up in a few different places. So the first place tends to be sustainable schedules. They want to serve the right number of clients or patients with the right level of team support. So they're not stretched too thin or doing it all themselves. I meet practitioners who are and want to remain a solo practitioner, and others who are on the journey of maybe they have one or two practitioners who are in their practice to the scale of 15 to 20 serving different modalities. Then there is the confidence in the paycheck. So I briefly mentioned that before. They want to reliably pay themselves and others in their practice without worrying if they'll have enough left over to pay for rent, to pay for marketing, to pay for anything else that arises. And ultimately, between the sustainability and their schedule and the consistency and how they're paying themselves, it comes back to the strategic growth of their practice. What does their current practice look like versus what does their ideal practice look like? And creating the roadmap how to confidently hire, outsource, or reinvest in their business, knowing it's the right financial move, not just guessing.
One of the big external impacts on healthcare practitioners, wellness practitioners, is what I call the roll-ups. So you're seeing all over the place. These solo practitioners are very small groups of practitioners getting rolled up into huge behemoths, either owned by the hospital, owned by the providers themselves. On occasion, you're beginning to see some of the payers try to get in and control supply. And one of the challenges I would imagine is if you have a practitioner that wants to stay independent, their margin for error is very, very small because of all this consolidation that's going on. What is it that you see, Rebecca, around this driving force, which I think is almost unique to healthcare that you're not really seeing in other types of businesses?
Many of the practitioners I work with, like you said, they aren't looking to necessarily be acquired, and they tend to view those practices as being more corporate. You also have talent, so other practitioners or admin roles who have experience both at the private practices versus the more corporate business-like practices and what those differences are. So ultimately, many practitioners try to solve their financial stress by doing more. They're over investing in marketing, new certifications, or people, thinking more visibility or more offers will fix the problem. Or they're trying to grow fast. So they're adding clients, programs, or services before understanding how much capacity they can actually handle. And as a result, they either burn out before hiring support or they delay hiring because they don't know what they can afford, which keeps them stuck in this cycle of where more growth just adds more stress and they're solving for momentum, not sustainability. And that's not getting them the outcomes they want. And then they come back to, should I just sell my practice or would I even be able to sell this practice?
In the MIUVP, the U, as I said earlier, stands for urgent. And because this problem that you're talking about is urgent, we know that these healthcare practitioners are actively working to try to resolve this issue. So, what do you see that they do to try to fix this problem when they're doing it themselves?
They assume that growth is the answer. So, similar to what I was saying before, they think if they see more clients, they launch a group program or products, whether digital or physical products, or they hire a team, the financial stress will resolve itself. But what I see as the real issue is because they don't actually know their overall profit, they don't know their most profitable service, and they don't know their cash flow. So they're making big business decisions without the numbers to back them up. And because they've never been taught how to align business growth with their personal goals, they end up building a business that looks successful on the outside, but feels unsustainable on the inside. So it's not a lack of opportunity or seeing more clients or patients. It's a lack of financial clarity. And when you touched earlier on KPIs, I believe the most important KPI is actually how many patient or client appointments or sessions you have in a specified period of time, because that solves the capacity. We can better understand what the average rate of service is, so the price piece, and ultimately the delivery costs of seeing a certain amount of clients. So how much they're investing or under investing in their clients or patients.
As you look at this and you look at what they're doing on their own, and clearly, as you stated, it's not working too well. And you talked about the need to focus in on the right set of drivers. How does that translate into behavior and action? What things do you think, from an action point of view, that they should be doing that they're not doing, and how would that change the nature of their business?
I'll bring it back to the 3 pillars. So the first pillar being pricing. I want practitioners to clarify their pricing and payment structure. So that starts with researching market rates, both in their scope of practice and in their geography, and then choosing a model, whether that be fee for service, insurance-based, packages, memberships, concierge. There's so many choices, and aligning that payment structure with their values and their goals for how they want to serve their clients or patients. So that is the action oriented piece and the pricing pillar. Then there's capacity. So with capacity, I want practitioners to define their ideal work week, getting clear on how many clients or patients they want to see, how much admin they want to handle versus the team they want to manage, and what kind of schedule and setting, whether that be virtual or in person, one-to-one versus group, that actually supports their practice and their personal life. So there's actually a few action-oriented tips in the capacity pillar. And then in terms of expenses, I really urge practitioners to know their numbers, similar to how they would urge their patients to know their numbers. So that means understanding their fixed overhead, which are their fixed expenses, the recurring expenses, determining what's available for salary, and mapping out how much is left to reinvest in the business and where. And I do believe that this is where they could use additional support, but at least laying it out in these 3 pillars, those would be my tips.
I think you have provided the beginnings of a roadmap that these healthcare and wellness practitioners can follow that will get them out of their struggle city into success city. Now we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to learn a bit about Rebecca.
Is your pipeline inconsistent and rarely full? Do you struggle to stand out and communicate your unique value? The lead generation you've done or had others do for you has largely been a waste of time and money. You're stressed out and feeling guilty, worried that you're not living up to your own expectations or supporting those who matter most to you. Maven offers the only 97% done-for-you client acquisition service, trusted by top fractional executives and consultants. Our proven system takes care of your go-to-market strategy, lead generation, and sales, turning your expertise into a full pipeline and a high-converting sales process. With Maven, you'll achieve a predictable income, financial security, and the confidence you'll never have to take a job working for someone else. Contact j.kingley at fractionalmaven.com to discover how Maven can help you build a thriving business working with clients who value your insights and are a joy to work with.
Welcome back. We're talking to Rebecca Kushner, a fractional CFO who focuses on health and wellness practitioners launching or expanding their own private practices. Rebecca, let's find out a bit more about you. And I want to start with one of my favorite questions. What happened in your life, could be personal, could be professional, that most explains why you're doing what you do today?
So I didn't set out to become a fractional CFO for practitioners, but looking back, it makes perfect sense. As a CPA working in finance at a healthcare startup, I saw firsthand how disconnected the clinical and business sides of care can be. I was surrounded by incredibly talented practitioners, and in my personal life, I had become a certified health coach, and I saw so many people deeply committed to helping others, but completely overwhelmed by the business side of running a practice. So that's when it clicked. I realized I could bridge that gap, combining my financial expertise as a CPA with my passion for health and wellness to support the people doing the work that matters most. And I felt that helping them succeed isn't just about the bottom line, but it creates a ripple effect of care and impact in their communities. So that's what I do. I marry my financial skill set with my passion for wellness to bring health and happiness to as many people as possible.
Now, what's one thing that few people know about you that the world would find surprising?
I'm so transparent about who I am and what I do. I think the world would be surprised about why I care so much about health and wellness. So growing up, I was a very picky eater, and ultimately I expanded my palate, and through doing so, I had encountered some health challenges of my own, which led me and my twenties to learning more about holistic health and becoming a certified health coach and becoming really passionate about health and wellness. We weren't taught that growing up, and there was so much that we were taught in school that didn't actually move the needle on our lives like health and wellness and like our financial skill sets do. So there was just so much in health and wealth. And ultimately, when I was a teenager, I thought that when I became a mom, I would become a math teacher because I'm a numbers person. So I had this huge passion for I want to be an educator one day. And ultimately, what I learned in my corporate career, paired with how the working world has evolved to all of these virtual and remote opportunities, it allowed me to create this practice that instead of becoming a math teacher in a school setting, I can be a financial educator in a virtual setting.
So, what's next for you over the coming 12 months?
So I'm continuing to support private practice owners and founders in the health and wellness space, and I'm still accepting new clients. So I spoke a lot about the financial education piece too, because that is my passion as an educator, both in the financial space and in the health space. So I'm excited to create more accessible ways for practitioners to get the strategic support they need when they need it. So I'm going to be launching monthly office hours and workshops focused on financial education. And then I'm also going to be launching financial tools for these practitioners who are just getting started. So I have a free profitability calculator available on my website. This is available for practitioners at any stage. It's the first step how I work with my clients. And I have a waitlist for a financial clarity dashboard, which is a tool to track financial performance with simple structured templates for revenue, expenses, and budgeting. I believe understanding exactly where your money is going will help you make smarter decisions with confidence. And like I said, I really want this financial education to be more accessible to practitioners.
What's the best way for our audience to contact you?
They can find me on my website, which is my name, RebeccaKushner.com, as well as LinkedIn. And I'm available on Instagram at Accounting for Appetite, which blends my CPA and certified health coach.
I will put Rebecca's contact information into our show notes to make it easy for everybody to reach out. Rebecca, I want to thank you for being a guest on our Fractionals Unplugged show. Be sure to subscribe to both our podcast on all the major platforms and our YouTube channels for our videos. Use the power of your one big idea to differentiate you from everyone else who does what you do. Enjoy a pipeline consistently filled with clients you want to work with who value what you do. Choose the freedom, flexibility, and control that comes from having your own fractional or consulting business and enjoy being financially secure and professionally fulfilled. Until next time.